Alright, welcome back. Today we're looking at The Mechanic from 1972. Now, I know a huge chunk of viewers are familiar with the Jason Statham remake, or if you didn't know about that, it is a remake, which was released in 2011, which did pretty well at the box office. And then there's also a sequel, maybe 5 years after, starring Statham once again, and Jessica Alba, titled Mechanic Resurrection. But I think after this video, maybe I will convince you guys that this movie's better than the one Jason Statham did, but I highly doubt he even knows who Charles Bronson even is. So the movie starts out with an intense intro of Arthur Bishop, the protagonist, and if you have seen the 2011 version, he is a hitman here. So here he is walking to the apartment he's rented out to kill his first target in the movie. Arthur unlocks his apartment, the one he's renting out, and starts assembling this telescopic camera and begins taking pictures of areas of the target's more exposed areas, and that includes the kitchen, the bookshelf, and his bed. Now he's back at his over-the-top home in Los Angeles, and I'm pretty sure the 2011 one takes place in some other state, which I don't know. I haven't seen the movie in years. And here he has his robotic bulletin board open. And here we see what the first target looks like while playing some classical music in the background, just like Jason Statham's version of Arthur Bishop. So the next day, Arthur's back at the same apartment area, and here we see the target in the flesh as he walks out for the day, and Arthur goes up, walking cool with his head down, not making eye contact. He breaks in old school style, heads straight to the kitchen by first readjusting the stove, and replaces the tea bags with sleep-infused tea bags, and now onto the bookshelf where he sticks this blob of shit inside the target's favorite book, puts it back, and now he has a clear vantage point from his apartment across. So now Arthur's back at the apartment he's renting out with his binoculars and sees that the target is back and is heading back upstairs to his apartment and gets comfortable by making his favorite tea and waits for the kettle to boil the water. And now that tea is ready, he grabs a book, and not his favorite book, takes a sip of the tea and falls asleep right away. Now, the only way for Arthur to pass time is to play with his wax ball for grip strengthening, and it's now nighttime. The target is still sleeping, and the stove is now activated for the gas to reach the book with the blob of shit inside it, and Arthur starts to assemble a sniper rifle and shoots the book. So mission number 1 completed. So Arthur burns the target's picture, and now he gets a call from an old friend.
Yeah, what's the matter? 1 hour.
Arthur drives down to this old friend's house, and here we meet him, Harry McKenna, played by Keenan Wynn, semi-known supporting actor if you've seen Dr. Strangelove or this other movie called Neptune's Daughter, starring Esther Williams, if you've ever heard of her, and this other comedian called Red Skelton. So now Harry's concerned about an issue with the organization that Arthur works for. Well, we don't know what the issue is, but he is indeed seen as a threat, but Arthur will take care of that issue. So now the two have a conversation about the past as Arthur sits there like he's super bored. And here we meet Arthur's threat, Steve McKenna, played by John Michael Vincent, another semi-known supporting actor. He actually died 5 years ago. At least he died before the year 2020, before all the, outbreak happened. And I have to say, this is probably the most feminine intros ever. This is the kind of intro you would see in a James Bond movie when you meet the Bond girl from the 60s or 70s. I don't know if this is just me, but usually it's not the most masculine intro of Steve McKenna, because come on, man, like who angles the camera at his ass and then,
Arthur, this is my son Steve.
Nice to meet you. Drop by anytime, huh? Any friend of Big Harry's?
So Arthur's out and about looking at a store window shopping, and as usual dresses well, and now he is back at home, sees a delivery guy with a package inside is his next target hit, obviously. Of course, it's Harry McKenna. Not that big of a surprise, honestly, from the way he was asking for Arthur's help. So now Arthur pulls out his bulletin board and grabs every single piece of information on Harry McKenna as he sits down and plays with his wax ball, thinking and taking notes. Next morning, Arthur's at a local beach, and this is the place where he will eventually kill Harry and goes for a jog at the same time. The same night, Arthur's back at home staring at a painting, taking his antidepressant medication, which I think it is, or whatever it is, and gets a call from a mysterious voice who gives him the approval for the mission.
Would like you to go ahead.
Arthur is pretty horny throughout the movie, as you'll see later on. So Arthur and Harry are at the beach, and Arthur lies to him that someone from the organization is down at the beach that wants to speak to him. Harry looks around, and Arthur is all ready to kill with his silencer pistol. Here we see a very funny moment.
Hello? Harry! Run to the car in the center!
Yeah, you gotta love that Charles Bronson voice. So Harry's scared shitless and starts running.
I'm trying to get you, Harry! Run!
Seeing that bullets are trying to hit him, Harry runs back to the car. He knows that this is a trap set up by Arthur.
You? Finish it, Arthur! together. You and me. Finish it.
And there goes Harry McKenna. Funny how he gave up right away. Okay, so the next morning, Arthur's at a prostitute's house since he is horny, and it's normal for guys to pay for sex, and here she is, and this is actually Charles Bronson's wife back then in Jail Ireland, and she has a nice living room with all the classic movie posters, and of course, Arthur doesn't like to waste time, and he just wants to have sex and get it over with.
If you could only let me have one small part of the weight of it.
Cock! Cock! Cock!
This phrase got him extra horny, or maybe the other way around with the prostitute. Okay, so next morning, Bronson pays his wife for the sex opportunity, and he is now at Harry McKenna's funeral with Steve. This priest looks pissed off that the two left. Funny to see that Harry had that many people present at his funeral. Okay, so now we are back at the McKenna mansion, and Steve is, of course, having a party to celebrate that he's now the heir of everything, and we see some cheesy 1970s moments with all these college kids parading the mansion.
It's all in the bubble.
Now Steve gets a call from his girlfriend Louise, and he wants Arthur to come with him.
Would you come along?
Okay.
A very robotic Arthur. Like I said before in another video, Bronson is in his prime here. He's got the mustache, the medium length hair, the rugged look, suit, and the deep voice.
I keep it cool.
So now we're at Louise's house, and here you can tell that she is one of those girls that is, that thing you see online of girls. Oh, I can change him, that kind of crap, right? Even though Steve is a total bum and, a rich kid that's never had to work ever in his life. So, she's trying to kill herself.
Mr. Bishop?
How much do you weigh?
What did he ask you?
110.
Question that would trigger many feminists today and most girls today in general. Anyway, so Louise waits a little longer. She ends up leaving and gives up. So Arthur and Steve head back to the party and have a minor discussion because Steve wants to know that what Arthur does for work, but he dodges the conversation. And the next day we see the day in the life of Arthur Bishop. So he goes for a jog, goes for martial arts training, takes more pills, knife throwing, and along with that some horny thoughts. And now Arthur is at an aquarium randomly, I guess because he was bored. Yeah, this is what people used to do to kill time before social media and iPhones and smartphones in general and computers and all that. So, and also the addiction in video games these days has gotten so much. But he passes out in public and ends up in the emergency room, maybe from taking too many pills, and now he has to pay a fee, and he doesn't feel like doing so, so he throws away the receipt. So next morning, Arthur looks bored. Even the paintings he has of naked girls are not good enough to cool off the sexual urge. So he walks down to pick up his daily newspaper.
You waiting for me?
Sees that Steve is there in his red Mustang, sleeping. So Steve was there the entire night and wanted to hang out with Arthur. So he is confused why Steve is so suddenly interested in him. Not for those kinds of reasons, that's what you guys are thinking. So
What do you want from me?
Steve spends the day out with Arthur, so they start off by taking a plane ride lesson and ended off at a dinner at the Cabaret Club. So next day we see Arthur and Steve playing tennis the same day. They're at the martial arts training dojo, and here we see a fight between Yamamoto, a Japanese man, and Corey, an American, and the whole point of this fight is that these two are not allowed to touch each other since they're both very dangerous. But Corey gets cocky in the end and ends up getting his ass beaten by Yamamoto. And don't you hate it when people can't follow simple instructions? And so Steve is frustrated that Arthur's not telling the truth about what he does for work.
It's not freshman philosophy time.
I'm sure.
You ever hear the term mechanic used outside?
Now that Arthur has finally revealed his line of work, Steve is interested and is ready to join.
You've got a partner, Mr. Bishop.
Associate.
Arthur takes Steve out for a shooting lesson, which is the last skill he has to learn, and they ended off at a restaurant. Steve is interested in Arthur's wax ball, where they have dinner. And now that Steve is ready for his first hit job, this time Arthur has Steve to help out, and here's what the target looks like. So the two are following the new target, who happens to be a drug customer, and here we see Arthur and Steve following him to the Los Angeles Zoo, and here the customer grabs a popcorn bag from the turtleneck guy here, as Steve over here is pretending to be a zoo visitor, only to find out there are drugs inside it. So Arthur and Steve follow the customer and reach his mansion, only to find out he is well protected by the cameras and that his bodyguards are there at all times, especially at certain times. Same day, the two are hard at work and they run out 2 cars, and here we see the drug customer talking to the supplier as Arthur reads her lips.
In a chicken licking truck, right to you. Better not be. You know where to find me.
So we know that the drugs will be delivered to the mansion in a chicken licking truck. So now they're at a phone booth where Arthur calls up a mechanic. Yeah, not that kind of mechanic. He pretends to be one of the bodyguards, only to store dead bodies there in solution, so that because eventually we don't want a mansion full of dead bodies, right? Now we get the call from the mysterious voice for the mission once again.
Yes.
We would like you to go ahead with this one.
We go.
Okay, so the same day we see the chicken licking truck headed towards the mansion, and Steve is obviously pretending to be a traffic cop. Of course, Arthur comes in from the back and cracks the driver's neck. Now that Steve has a chicken licking outfit on and drives up to the mansion, while Arthur is back there all cozy and ready to go, and obviously the dead body of the driver. And we see another funny moment.
Chicken licking is licking chicken.
Wise guy.
Door is now open. Arthur's ready to go and knocks the guard out, and the two go inside to look around for the customer inside his mansion as Arthur kills another guard. Meanwhile, Steve is upstairs and falls down after the customer runs out and pushes him, and Arthur hears gunshots and runs out and grabs a bike from the van. Now this scene is kind of similar to the car chase from Bullet,
Get the bodies in the truck.
the Steve McQueen movie, except the scene is less than 5 minutes and fun to watch. But we see some cheesy moments along the way, like this family reunion and this guy cleaning his car. So the chase continues, and Arthur falls off his bike, only to see that the customer has committed suicide on purpose. Or wasn't intentional. At least I think it wasn't. And here we see Steve pushing down the customer's body to the chemical solution, as mentioned before. I don't know how they managed to retrieve the body. And now we're back at Arthur's house as Steve's job went bad because he messed up, and Arthur tells him to let it go. Arthur now gets a call from the same mysterious voice that gives him the mission approvals, and he now wants to meet up with Arthur as he takes his private plane there, since Arthur's stupidly rich, as opposed to Jason Statham's version of Arthur Bishop in the 2011 version, where he's like more middle class, I believe, or maybe broke, I'm not sure. Now he's taken to the mansion where he meets with the man who's been giving Arthur these instructional calls, and he's concerned that the death of Harry McKenna has affected Steve, and that he will try to kill Arthur. But Arthur says that having Steve is better with him since he can become valuable to the organization. But the man over here is not buying that BS. Hands him this dossier with the final target killing of the movie, and that this will take place in Naples, Italy. So Arthur goes back to Los Angeles the same night and calls up Steve, but he's not picking up. So he heads down to the McKenna mansion to see where he is and looks around and goes inside the office and sees that there's a file with all of Arthur's information in it. Last time I checked, Charles Bronson's 5'9", not 6 feet. Well, according to IMDb. And plus, what the hell are Adidas shoes? That was Adidas shoes. So Arthur is really losing it now that he should have listened to the man of the organization about Steve McKenna. So Steve heads to Arthur's house after having some fun with Louise again, probably sex. But Arthur is pissed off that he should be more focused on the work now.
In Italy.
Italy. Am I gonna go?
Why not?
Okay, the same night, Arthur could not sleep. Steve was already taking notes on Arthur, but Arthur does the same thing as well as they're headed to Naples. Now that they have landed, they check into the hotel. They get ready to work. Here's what the target looks like, who happens to be an Italian aristocrat. So here we are in downtown Naples as Arthur and Steve spy on the Italian aristocrat outside the Piazza del Plebiscito, I think that's what it's called, with his young girlfriend having breakfast or brunch. So they break for brunch.
Good. Last time I had this was 10 years ago.
And Arthur hasn't had this drink in 10 years, and guess who else they're having their meal? Yeah, the aristocrat and his girlfriend. So they continue to follow them around by taking a lot of pictures. So they break for the night, and funny to see that Steve is wearing the same outfit as Arthur. So Steve goes for a walk. The two are out again, taking more pictures on the yacht, and then follow the yacht by car.
Excuse me, sir. Would you take a picture of my wife and me?
Taking even more pictures as Steve follows a girlfriend from this church. Well, 2 million pictures later, and their only solution is...
You scuba.
Yeah, sure.
So now they're back at the beach, getting ready to go scuba diving to get to the yacht. They're now inside and only to see...
It's a setup.
There goes the Italian aristocrat. Arthur sees that the organization he works for have sent out their hitmen, and he rigs the yacht with a timed grenade. They are now on shore, only to find out that Arthur wasn't supposed to bring Steve along, and this is only an individual job.
I broke a rule.
So these Italian goons who probably work for the Italian aristocrat have seen that Arthur and Steve are there and getting ready for their arrival. Arthur sees that a car is coming towards them, and we get this car chase. Arthur grabs another timed grenade and throws it into the middle of the road. Now we see a roadblock up ahead, and this time Arthur takes out another timed grenade and places it into the accelerator, and we get this huge explosion and a shootout. There's always that one last surviving guy left. I don't know why they just leave him. Make things more complicated. But anyway, Arthur and Steve grab the nearest car, make a run for it, and have no ammo left. And as they are being chased down by the surviving guy, he sees that this tractor is what can save them. Arthur hotwires the tractor and drives like a badass, and we get this. So now we're in the final 2 minutes of the movie as the two are getting ready to get back to LA, and sees that Steve brings out the same wine from the restaurant earlier, only to know...
Arrivederci, Napoli.
What the hell? Let's go.
It turns out Steve brushed the inside of the glass with brucine, a poisonous chemical which can give people heart attacks.
Brucine.
But we also know that Steve did not do all this to avenge for Harry's death, mainly for his own pleasure and to take all of Arthur's possessions.
Looks just like a heart attack. You killed him. I thought he just died.
And his skills. So Arthur's now dead, and his body's left in Naples in the same hotel they checked in, while Steve makes his way back to LA and takes over Arthur's mansion and sits down in his car to see a note.
Bang, you're dead.
And there you have it, folks. The Mechanic, 1972. Great movie. I think it's very underrated in my opinion. It's not based off of a novel or anything. It's its own written movie, written by film writers. Statham version is completely different. A lot of rewrites and rearrangements, and obviously different time, big, time gap. A lot of different things that you can check out about both versions. Arthur is a little more relaxed here as opposed to Jason Statham's version of Arthur Bishop, who tends to be a little bit more concerned about the little details in his work. And also the actor that does play Harry McKenna in the Jason Statham version, the famous Donald Sutherland, has also died recently. Rest in peace. And I hope I've convinced you guys that this is the more superior version of the Mechanic movies. But then again, I don't know, maybe Charles Bronson makes the movie a little better, more better than Jason Statham. I'm not a fan of Jason Statham, but he is what do you call one of the leading action heroes of today. Has been since the last 20-30 years or so. But I know a lot of you will prefer the modern version more than this one, which is okay. And anyway, I will see you guys in the next video, which will be Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood. Stay tuned for that.